Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Alyn. Wrapping up today's show, Robert Clancy, the author of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Soul, will be joining us, and we're going to be talking about how to forget a negative past. That'll happen in about, 15 minutes or so from now here on Late Night Health. We're joined by a young woman that I've known for about 15 years. I've gotten older. She hasn't. Her name is Shula Bryski. She is a Rebbitzin, as I mentioned a while ago, talking about her. A Rebbitzin is a rabbi's wife. And we're going to talk about mind, body, spirit as it relates to health. Shula Bryski, welcome to Late Night Health.
Thank you, Mark. It's good to be here.
In today's society, and obviously you speak from a Jewish point of view, let's see if we can talk about some general things regarding life and health. Do you think that having faith, for example, helps maintain health?
Absolutely. I think it's undisputable that there is a connection between the mind, the body, and the spirit. I think we've all experienced this on some level, whether we, unfortunately there's illness that we know about that can come about through stress. We've heard about prayer affecting the sick, that they're filled with a sense of well-being when they know that there are people thinking about them. We get goosebumps when something freaks us out, or we are touched by something. When we feel shame, we feel the warm wash of shame. And on that level, we know that, our physical experiences can influence the mind, and it's also the opposite way around. The mind can influence our physical experiences and the quality of our life. So faith, to me, part of faith is feeling positive about the present and the future, because faith can be different in different contexts. But faith as a whole is the belief and the trust that everything that happens around me is coming from a higher power, is coming from God, that my life is not an accident, that nothing in my life is random, we're not living in a jungle. And through that awareness, it brings us to a place of peace and a sense of a feeling of well-being.
How does this relate to you in your own life? You're the mother of 6 children. Mm-hmm. I can't keep my 2 that I have straight. I don't know if you call them number 1, number 2, number 3, but how does your faith help you with your health and the health of your family?
Well, it's a tremendous component of my life, and that is because ultimately, fortunately or unfortunately, we see over and over again that we don't have control. We can do our best to maximize our health, to maximize our security, to maximize our children's potential and how they grow up, but we don't ultimately have control over outcomes or what will happen to us tomorrow. All we have is this moment right now. So if we only lived with that reality, it's a really scary way to live. Life just is defined by unpredictability.
Right.
But living against a backdrop of faith allows me to have peace that whatever comes my way, and there might be an initial reaction of anxiety and of stress, of grief, all the cocktail of emotions that accompany life itself, the subsequent feelings and thoughts and mindset that can happen is going back to that place of, yes, there's no guarantee, but ultimately God has a hand in everything that happens in my life, and therefore whatever it is I'm struggling with is not by accident, and that there's a purpose to it. So even when we take the most extreme and most painful emotions, something like grief, to know that we experienced a loss and that it was not for naught, that it wasn't just about bad luck, but that this was an opportunity for us to grow, to become close to our Creator, to other people around us, to help other people through our experiences, through our gained wisdom. It becomes a whole different reality.
Looking at living in the moment, though, is that important? Not worrying about what happened yesterday and not what's going to happen tomorrow?
Absolutely. Well, that's part of the tension of life. It's having faith that the past, today, and the future will be good, is good, that there is a God directing all that happens. And at the same time, it's being present in whatever it is that is put in front of us. In fact, this is a huge part of Judaism. Way before mindfulness became a trend, trendy in the sense that we have mindfulness retreats and, the whole idea of intentionality in a preschool and what type of activities they put out just for playtime, that everything has to be intentional because we have to live life to its fullest. 2,000 years ago, Judaism gave us a series of blessings that we make on food, and this has been echoed in many other religions, as a way of being present in the act of eating. Not only in the act of eating, but speaking about food and being mindful, if I haven't tasted a fruit in over 6 months, we actually have a blessing to say on a fruit like that. Something I haven't tasted in 6 months, it's called the Shehechiyanu blessing. And therefore, we're not just thanking God for the savoriness, the sweetness of the fruit, but we're savoring the newness of the fruit. We're being mindful that this is something that our palate, our taste buds haven't tasted in 6 months.
But at this time, in the 21st century, if you want a nectarine in the dead of winter, you get it from some other part of the world. It can be organic.
Well, then all the more miraculous that
right.
When you eat that nectarine, you can tell yourself, how magnificent, how many details have to come together for me to have this nectarine? There had to be good rain, good soil, good sun. There had to be someone that loaded up into a truck. There had to be fuel in the truck. It had to be transported onto the airplane. And finally, I picked it up from the supermarket, and I have the luxury of having this fruit.
No wonder there's a blessing. Our guest is Shula Bryski, and she is co-director of the Chabad of Thousand Oaks in the Conejo Valley. She's a personal friend, as is Rabbi Bryski, who's been on the show a couple of times already over the last 4.5 years. We're talking about health and faith. We also should mention, and we will have information about this on our website, Shula is also a writer for hire, if you will. So if you need a speech or some kind of article, you can always go to Shula, and we will give you her website coming up. And it's a very fun, and I think the name is Rentaspeech.com. Rentaspeech.com. It could have been Yentaspeech if I was doing it, but with you, it's not. Okay. What about the connection between the mind, the body, and spirit in terms of all religions? And if somebody does not have faith, does not believe, they're agnostic, they're an atheist.
Okay, so firstly, I like to describe the correlation to the analogy of a house. A real house houses a human being. And because the house is an expression of the person, a living space is a very intimate space. You can tell a lot about a person by the colors they choose, the piece of furniture they have, the pieces of furniture they don't have. So because the home is an expression of the person, they are just intertwined. And the house is impacted by how the person treats the house and if it takes good care of it or not. And in many ways, this is like the relationship between the body and the soul. The body is a home for the soul. And our body is the piece of this universe that we were given to experience life. So the body is where the soul expresses itself. So of course they have to be connected and intertwined. And I believe in some variation or another, every religion has this understanding that there is this partnership between the body and the soul. And we're hardwired to create meaning and purpose in our life by using the body to express the soul, our higher self. In other words, I'm sure there are many scientific explanations about why the body and the soul are connected. And maybe it's even a matter of survival, when
right.
Our body's feeling something, so it sends a message to the brain, and the brain tells the body to act accordingly, and vice versa. But the spiritual component is because we are hardwired to create meaning and purpose, and the only way for us to do that is when we use our body to express our soul our higher self. So, for
but
example...
but at the same time, if somebody does not believe, can they still have a happy, healthy life?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. Because,
right.
Well, according to Judaism, Judaism places tremendous emphasis on faith, but along with that emphasis, and I believe this is unique to Judaism, I have not really seen this emphasized in many other religions, there is a tremendous emphasis on action. There is a saying from our sages called Hamaisa Hua Ikar, action is the main thing. So even if a person is struggling with their faith, they can still make the decision to go ahead and take on action. To our eyes, it might seem phony if a person doesn't have the faith and yet they conduct themselves a certain way anyway. But think about everything else we do in life where we have to act on faith. We get on airplanes without knowing how engines work, and we eat blueberries without looking at them under a microscope to prove that they have antioxidants. We take it on faith that overall these things are good for us, that the plane will get us safely from point A to point B. And Judaism feels very strongly about spirituality as well, that one can function as a good, decent human being and lead a very meaningful life even when they're still in the process of struggling through their understanding of God, or if they have doubts about God's existence. If they continually strive to lead a spiritual and uplifting life, and again, how they use their soul to express, how they use their body to express their soul, their inner essence.
In our last couple of moments, and I really think that I probably should have started with this. Even if you have faith, you lead a good life. People get cancer. They get catastrophic diseases. There are accidents. How do you? I mean, I hate God works in mysterious ways. I think it doesn't. I want to know. Okay, that's me. How do you? I've talked to cancer survivors who've said cancer is my best friend. I know that Daryl doesn't like that, or has issues with things like that. How do you reconcile that?
So I feel like this is a topic in itself about why bad things happen. Is that your question?
Yes.
So I'll tell you the Hasidic mystical perspective, and that is, when it comes to other people suffering, the only response that is proper is for us to demand of God, why are you doing this? Relieve them of their suffering. And Moses, the first biblical Jewish leader in history, one of the greatest leaders that ever lived, he himself stood up to God when the Jews were in slavery and said, why are you doing bad to your people? That is the only correct response. When it comes to our own personal suffering and trials and tribulations that we go through,
we could get mad at God.
Well, when it comes to our own personal challenges, that's when the gift of faith comes in. That's when the gift of recognizing that everything that happens to us is coming from a higher source. This is the ultimate comfort.
Shula, we're out of time. We'll have to do this again. The Jewish holidays are coming up. Maybe we can come up with a great topic. Maybe we can continue this one, and we'll have you and the rabbi together on that one, talking about what happens to good people when bad things happen. We've got to go. Shula Bryski, and her website again is... Your website again, Shula?
Oh, I'm sorry. Rentaspeech.com.
Rentaspeech.com. I'm Mark Alyn. Late Night Health continues. As we wrap up, we'll have Robert Clancy coming up in just a moment. Don't go away. More coming up.
The experts at Web.com want to build your business a successful website for free, just like we did for these current Web.com customers.
We've looked at other website designers. There's nobody better than Web.com.
Web.com can build your website in as little as 7 days free. Plus, we'll promote it on all the major search engines. If after 30 days you're happy, we'll continue to provide promotion, hosting, support, and maintenance, all for one low monthly fee. If not, cancel and pay nothing.
If you're in business and you don't have a web presence, you won't be taken seriously.
Call right now and you'll also get a free .com or .net domain name for your new website, powered by VeriSign, the world's leading domain name provider.
No upfront charge for site build, after which ongoing fees apply. Rights to site are relinquished when canceled. Domain included during active service, after which fees apply.
800-489-8751. 800-489-8751. 800-489-8751. That's 800-489-8751. Attention users of the blood-thinning drug Xarelto. If you took the drug Xarelto and experienced complications such as cerebral hemorrhage, gastrointestinal bleeding or other internal bleeding, or if a loved one has died after taking Xarelto, you may be eligible to get a cash award for your suffering. Call the Xarelto Help Hotline now at 1-800-264-3150. That's 800-264-3150. To qualify for a cash settlement, you must file a claim before the deadline. So don't miss your opportunity for a cash settlement. Call 800-264-3150 now for a free, no-obligation consultation. Our call center is open 24/7. So if you took the drug Xarelto and experienced cerebral hemorrhage, gastrointestinal bleeding, or other internal bleeding, or if a loved one has died after taking Xarelto, call the Xarelto Help Hotline now at 800-264-3150. 800-264-3150. That's 800-264-3150.